La Crosse Tribune, September 22, 1932. An automobile ride for pleasure was converted into one of tragedy. Paul Jostin, owner of Jostin's barbershop in downtown La Crosse, went on a gunning spree, wounding his ex-wife and killing 2 others. His wife had left him earlier that year, and after seeing her about town with other men, he decided to take matters into his own hands. On the evening of September 21st, Jostin tailed his wife and a car full of her friends throughout the streets of La Crosse. When the car came to a dead-end stop, Paul Jostin jumped out and began his rampage. Upon leaving the scene, he returned to his barbershop and called the police. He told Lieutenant Thomas McDonough, "I just killed a man and shot another for interfering. Send someone down to my shop. The front door will be open. I'll be waiting for you." Jostin's barbershop on Pearl Street is now the location of the casino bar. It's said that his ghost haunts the building to this day. Crazed with drink and persecuted by his creditors, Nicholas Homboe, a young man from the north side of La Crosse, employee of the La Crosse Plow Company, hanged himself. The La Crosse Plow Company temporarily closed. During this entire time, the young man had been in a state of intoxication, bordering upon insanity. One night, he was seen intoxicated as usual by a number of people on the north side, and finally staggered up the street towards his home at about midnight. His body was found the next morning, hanging in the upper room of the house.
Nicholas Homboe was the son of a Norwegian immigrant who lived with his stepmother at the turn of the 20th century in North La Crosse. At the time of his death, Homboe had been working at the La Crosse Plow Company for a few years, which meant that he was likely a seasonal laborer doing unskilled, physically demanding manual labor when the factory needed it. He was likely paid by the hour, and his schedule probably varied from day to day and was dependent on the needs of the company. An unskilled day laborer at La Crosse Plow Company, like Homboe, would have been at the bottom of the pay scale.
There were seasons when there was more demand for unskilled workers than at other times, the peak being spring and fall. It's likely that Homboe was laid off during this regular shutdown in July because of that.
A shutdown like this would have affected anybody, especially somebody in the manufacturing industry, financially. Unemployment insurance did not exist as it does today, so loss of pay days would have been a financial burden to anyone. Even if Homboe's job was guaranteed with a definite return date, 3 weeks with no pay is significant. If he was already living paycheck to paycheck, which would have been common for men working in manufacturing, he probably didn't have much cushion. The newspaper reports indicate that he was bothered by creditors during this period of unemployment, several of whom he owed pretty large amounts. It's likely that his creditors were aware that he was not bringing in any income from his job. He was promising them that as soon as he returned to work, he would settle up all his accounts. Legally, creditors could demand payment and sue someone in court. Illegally, threats of bodily harm, threats to his job, lots of things come to mind as possibilities. From the newspaper accounts, it appears that instead of trying to find work while being laid off from the Crosse plow and hounded by his creditors, Homboe turned to drinking. His acquaintances on the north side said that he had been in an almost constant state of intoxication, bordering upon insanity, and he had scarcely drawn a sober breath. On the night Homboe died, he was seen very intoxicated by a number of people on the north side. It's likely he was heading up the bars on George Street near his house. It was reported that he staggered home about midnight.
For some time, the residents near the corner of Wood and Logan Streets have been nightly alarmed by the mysterious appearances and disappearances of an object of phantom form, which exists in the Homboe residence. It is reported that the house is brilliantly lit and that an object shrouded in white appears at the windows each night.
Less than a year after his death, the La Crosse Chronicle newspaper reported strange happenings at the house, which had been empty since Homboe's suicide. Apparently, residents near the house were seeing an object appear and disappear at the windows every night. The news reported that it was a phantom form swinging its arms around. Wild cries and frantic gestures from the phantom form would attract the attention of passersby every night. It was believed that this was the ghost of Nicholas Homboe.